Today I want to share with you guys a great conversation that I had with Qiana Martin, an old friend. I met her first time in Brazil maybe 15 years ago or so. A former player, soccer lover, businesswoman, and someone with soccer management IQ, background, experience, and know-how. I mean, was very interested to hear her thoughts, reflections, and opinions. So I'm very happy to share here our great conversation with you guys. Check it out.
So I have about 5 questions here. Uh, so the first one would be, what's your opinion? Based on your big experience, your you have a big know-how, background, all these things. You are based in New York right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your opinion about pay to play in United States?
So I think, based on my experiences, for your listeners who don't know, and I know you don't know this, I grew up in a very small town in the South. And so my only access to sport was when my mom signed me up at the recreation center, our local sporting center, to play. And I was 6. And I was the only girl, one of 2 girls on an all boys team. My mom had to pay in order for me to participate. I was the first person in my family to ever play soccer. And so then after that, the sport went away. And then some girls in high school, they petitioned to get a team, and I was able to start playing again. But then I wanted to play some more, and I had to pay, my mom had to pay for me to join a club team. So I only got to do that one year. One, because we didn't have resources like clubs and stuff in my small town. The only person I knew in my town that played soccer, everybody in town knew that he played. A family, I believe, sponsored him and took him to training, which was an hour away. And here in the United States, unlike, where you grew up in Brazil or Rio, we don't have the kind of public transportation to get around. And so in order to participate in the sport where I grew up, you had to have parents who had money, and you had to have parents or people around you who would invest in you to get you to the training that you needed. So really, it wasn't until I came to Brazil with you and Coach uh,
Alex Matias.
the other coach that I was able, Coach Matias, that I wasn't able to get the development that I needed. And so if you don't have those opportunities, it's hard for people to be able to, one, encounter the sport, to learn the sport, and to participate in the sport at the highest levels.
Yeah, I understand.
So I think
Yeah,
it prevents our best athletes from being able to play the sport. They go into cheaper. And even when I tried to sponsor some athletes who I thought were really good because they came through a community program, I said, I'll pay for the athletes. You just have to get them to the program, to the university, which was right down the street in a city in Atlanta. And they said, well, we don't have the time to get them there. So people are missing the opportunity to play the sport because they don't have access to it.
yeah, it's
Also,
incredible.
something, and I'll
Yeah, 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 yeah. Keep going.
say really quickly, is that somebody said yes. Well, we're talking about pay to play in terms of watching the Club World Cup, that you have to have cable in order to watch it. In order to attend the matches, you have to have money and means to get there. And so to even participate in the sport in this country, you have to have access, and that oftentimes includes money, time, and location.
Yeah, it's my opinion, it's difficult to understand why United States of America, a country so developing a lot of things, is so difficult and so challenged. like my experience from Brazil, it's so easy and simple to play soccer. And here is completely the opposite, so complex, difficult. You need parents, you need a car to drive you, you need money, you need this, you need that. So it's something that I believe, they could do something at least to facilitate the access, you know what I mean, for the kids. So yeah.
I
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
think one of the things that's different in Brazil versus the United States is that the foundation of the United States is built on excluding lower class people, people of color from opportunities, unfortunately. And so that spills over into sports. And so, for instance, when I was talking about trying to help a young lady participate in a camp, when I looked at what the camp cost for basketball, it was a couple of $100s cheaper than if she participated in soccer. So there has been a intentional effort to keep the sport available for people who have the means to participate in it. Because, in my opinion, I believe if they open it up to all players to play, some of the players that are getting the opportunities now may not get those opportunities. But I say that if you give everybody the opportunity to play, it only makes everyone better. For instance, when I came to train and play with you all in Rio, I learned so much there from you all that I would have never learned in the United States because the players were so much better. The technical ability, the way that you approached the sport and saw the sport was so much more different than how they treat it here.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's true. When you leave your box, you know, so that's, I believe, when you left here, your United States box, and went to a different box, you start to see different realities, and then your eyes. Yeah. Okay, so Kiana, do you believe today, in 2025, U.S. youth soccer development is going to the right direction, and why?
I think it's going in the right direction in terms of there are more opportunities, but still the barriers, and the barriers are continuing to increase in terms of price. Now it's more expensive to play. Now it's more expensive to get the type of training that you need. And so, and also, I don't know if you've noticed because you've coached here enough, the parents are more involved in terms of they want to see wins over technical ability. They want to fight referees, so much so that there are state laws now in place for punishments for, parents, trying to attack referees. And so there's an issue with having enough referees and coaches who want to actually be involved because they don't want to deal with the parents.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
those issues have grown alongside. Now,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully you're not
Okay.
experiencing that, but
I saw something. I saw something towards this you are talking about. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it's sometimes you are too small when you face a culture or a system or something else that is in there for so many years. It's difficult. You try your best as a coach. I try my best. I try to talk to kids. I try to talk to parents that are close to me, but yeah, it's much bigger in my opinion. It's, this culture to identify
yeah,
kids are not professional. They are not there for performance. You know, they are there to learn
yeah.
performance after 16, 17, 18 years old, and then start to talk more about performance. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Uh, if you have the power to implement or change anything in US youth soccer, what would you do?
Um, One of the things that I would do, my mom told me about this not too long ago. In our hometown, they make sure that all of the third graders learn how to swim because they want them to be safe around water. I think something should be similarly implemented for soccer. One, because soccer is a global language. If you know how to play soccer or know anything about soccer, you can communicate with people who don't speak the same language as you. We know that because my Portuguese wasn't that well when I was there.
Yeah.
Also, it teaches you skills on how to be resilient, creativity, how to give and receive feedback. And those are things that will help you when you go into the workforce. That's what the World Federation Economic Forum mentioned in their latest report. And then lastly, if you're participating in soccer, you are um, you're staying active. And one of the issues that the World Health Organization said is that there's too much inactivity from adults and especially with kids. Like 81% of kids between 11 and 17 globally are not physically active. And so implementing soccer into our school programs, more than just a one-off physical, PE class, is going to help grow the sport and help our communities be healthy.
Okay, I understand. All
So
right.
that's what I think they should do.
Yeah,
Soccer
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
Mhm.
Understand. Yeah, would be good. Would be very good. Uh, okay. So next one here. Besides pay to play, would you have in mind any suggestion to help the clubs? Local clubs, community clubs, the regional clubs, these small clubs. Would you have a suggestion to help them to increase their revenues?
I think instead of pay to play, we should do away with that. And we should have sports networks like ESPN, fitness companies like Nike, Adidas, um, universities who want to do research projects on health, soccer, different things with the sport. Governments and insurance companies all need to pool their money to sponsor leagues, teams, clubs, local level, regional level, national level. One, because for insurance companies, they have more people that are sick. If you have people moving, less people are sick, less payouts. If you have people like ESPN or TNT sponsoring teams, clubs, there's not enough young people watching broadcast matches. And so now the people like you and me who will sit down and watch a match, if they don't have other people younger watching, they're not going to be able to continue their revenues and broadcast these matches. For fitness companies, because less people are participating in the sport because of the cost or access to the sport, they're not going to be able to sell their equipment. So it works in everybody's interest for these larger organizations to spend their money to sponsor these leagues, teams, players, so that the sport can continue to grow. Because if people participate in the sport, they'll purchase the items, they'll watch the matches, and it's like a little ecosystem. Everybody is feeding everybody. So that's what I propose as opposed to what they're doing now. Now, I know a lot of people in US soccer make a lot of money running clubs, tournaments, things like that. It's big business.
Yeah.
But in order to sustain it, you're going to have to, and grow it, you're going to have other people pitching in to bring more people to the sport.
Okay, understand. Yeah, definitely. I share the same opinion. I think they should do something to help the small clubs, because if you think about New York Red Bulls, New York City, this MLS, they don't need pay to play to survive. But the small clubs, the local clubs, the community clubs, clubs that have 100 kids, 200
Mhm.
kids, they need something else, in my opinion. They need something else, and then they can stay a little bit away from this only resource pay to play.
That's
So I
right.
think it's, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So last but not least, uh, what is your feelings for USA national team for next year, the World Cup? Because it's a lot of people talk about it in terms of the performance. 94 was a first experience, let's say, but now it's completely different. Now MLS is something very different from like 94 was soccer. He was really, really small. So what is your feelings? What do you think about for the US national team?
Well, I hope they get it together
Why do you think they are?
because I mean, I saw
Yeah,
them play in the Gold Cup match.
yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, they play. I saw them play in the Gold Cup match against Trinidad, and they won. They did good. But the previous four matches, I think they lost. Then you have someone, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Alexi Lawless. He's a commentator. He says that we need to be more exclusive in the players we pick. And that makes no sense. If you look at teams like a PSG or any of these other just national teams, they have players that come from all over and they can communicate and win matches together. I think once again, it comes down to the US Soccer Federation needs to be serious that they want the best players to participate in the sport and to play at the highest levels. And they also have to be open to wanting to bring in the best coaches and not think that if I bring in a coach that changes our youth system for the better, it, it does not look bad for us. The ultimate goal should be to win and not to win on the terms that I've set because we want to be a certain way or we want the sport to look a certain way. I think there were great coaches that they could have picked in this last round when they, fired the other coach. Then they, had that coach and brought him back and did. I mean, they just don't seem to be serious.
Mhm.
And so I'm not exactly sure what the men are going to do in terms of having a better showing. I hope that they show up and do what they need to do.
Yeah,
But right now it's just kind of once again up in the air. They've invested so much money, but where are the returns? I think it comes down to once again, those barriers are coming back to bite them, and they don't want to change that.
yeah, understood. Yeah. So definitely, I think they should look for US soccer as a big process and like a factory. You have your raw material, you have your shop
Mm-hmm.
floor, and then you have your
Mm-hmm.
shipment. So it's a big
Mm-hmm.
process. And I believe they should take a look, a little bit more in your grassroots, in your raw material, and not only, the big clubs, all these things.
Yes.
Like it's not overnight. It has to be something like 5 to 10 years to start to produce something different. I'm talking about if you want something different, really different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But they
okay,
don't want to do that.
yeah. Uh, it's difficult to understand, what they have in mind, or which plan they have. You know, like which plan. Like in Brazil, people are talking about the Brazilian coach from Italy, Ancelotti. Some people say he's there for this World Cup and for the next because the real job is for the next because now it's too close. You cannot do something
Mm-hmm.
in a couple months, but we'll see what happens. Uh, okay, Qiana, thank you so much.
But
Oh,
see,
yeah,
that's
keep
the
going.
difference. That's the difference.
Keep going, keep going.
Oh, I said that's the difference between Brazil and the US. Because if we were in the same predicament situation, they want immediate results with the first team, the senior team. So even in the situation that we just brought that coach on, I think what was it? Has it even been a year? But they're like, hey, you need to perform in this 26 situation. So they're not giving him the kind of time that you're talking about. They brought him in specifically like, we want you to help win this thing for us. It's 26, the process. So
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think they have to change the mindset. They want it right now, just like the parents want to win every game right now, as opposed to developing the players and letting them have a losing season, but having more, technical ability or, learning the game with soccer IQ and stuff like that. So
Yeah, the medium long
it's a
term. Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right, Kiana, thank you so much. Nice to talk to you again after, I don't know, maybe 15 years or something like
Yeah,
this. 10, 15.
I know. Yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
yeah, hopefully at some point we can see each other. I see Isabella. I have to
All right.
maybe send you a picture because when I show you her, you'll remember who she is. But I see her every couple of years.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Sure, for sure. All right. Nice to talk to you. So you keep in touch, right?
Okay, well, take good care of yourself.
Okay, take
Nice to
care.
talk to
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. I
Yes, and let
appreciate it.
me know when this comes out.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Kiana.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Bye bye.
Bye.